don't know nobody on this road that can save your soul. Almost lost control now. Tell me what you need in a friend and now. Pray that we endure to the end again. I'm just saying that I'm here for you. When the world turn against you, I'ma be with you. Got my sword in my hand, you can count on me. I won't run and hide, fight mightily.
Waiting on you, how it's shy. See the Jacob, I'm the apple of my father's eye. I learned the truth for who I was and it made me cry. If I don't keep the laws of Yah, then I'm gonna die. Living curses, but I'm edifying in my verses. Prepare the hearses for the heathens who be steady learning.
God. First and foremost, want to give all glory, praises, and honor to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so by Shema Mashiach, Womalak Yahushai, Shalom to 12 tribes scattered abroad. Greetings to the four corners of the earth, patiently waiting for the second coming of a Mashiach, Womalak Yahushai, doing all you can do day in and day out to make your calling and election sure, battling and contending for the faith, right, through all aspects. So tonight on this Manna Monday, we're going to get into something a little bit, something exciting that I've been waiting to go into a little bit more. You know, it's a lot of false doctrines out here. A lot of false doctrines out here. Doctrines that will get you sifted out of the truth, or doctrines that will misguide you so you will never find the truth. And, you know, we have to be vigilant in terms of protecting our spirit from all of these different religions, false religions, so-called. You know, you got all types of doctrines coming out, all types of religions, all type of philosophies. There's all type of madness nowadays going out, and you got a lot of Israel hearkening to it. You know, you got a lot of sisters nowadays are in witchcraft. You know, damn tarot card readings. You know, you get on social media, you see Eve selling tarot card readings, $20 readings, $50 readings, right? All of that goes into idolatry. I'll say it again. All of that is rooted and goes into idolatry. I know we touched a little bit on hermetics, right? Tonight we're going to touch on various doctrines, esoteric doctrines that they say, right? Let's get into this word, esoteric. So look, esoteric describes something understood by only a small group of people with specialized knowledge or interest. Now look, read this, or interest, right? What are their interests? What are their benefits? What type of hidden benefits do they have to push this certain type of knowledge? You know, they call it the Illuminati, the illuminated ones, who are supposed to have some deep, secret knowledge. 99.9% of this deep secret knowledge is on the left-hand side, right? Of mainstream knowledge is on the left-hand side. And I want to say 100%, but just in case, for sake of argument, right? If there's something out there that maybe, you know, I don't know, but 99.9% of this knowledge is on the left-hand side. What does the left-hand side mean? It is a wickedness, or especially for the children of Israel, to be indulging into these type of things, right? Or something having a secret or profound inner meaning. The word comes from the Greek esoterikos, meaning more within. And you know, brothers who know me and sisters who know me, I actually in the world used to have this little saying that I used to go by. I used to say, all is within. Yeah, all is within. Hey, that was wicked, because my mind frame of when I said that, I definitely was thinking about some type of cosmic awakening, right? That had nothing to do with the Most High God. All right, that had nothing to do with the Most High God. So from that standpoint, more within or further inside, and historically refers to secret philosophies and teachings reserved for a select group of disciples. So when you get into, we went into a little bit of this a couple of weeks ago. I think I did it on the Wicked Wednesday, right? Hermetics. We go into hermetics, right? Hermeticism. Hermeticism is a spiritual, mystical. Now I want y'all to pay attention. A lot of these things go into mystics, mysticism, which is rooted in witchcraft and idolatry, right? Soothsaying, and philosophical tradition rooted in the ancient writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, thrice greatest Hermes. It teaches that all things are interconnected and that the divine is present in the material world. Now, the primary difference, people may be like, okay, well, all things are interconnected, right? Well, we agree that all things are interconnected, but we disagree in the philosophy of hermeneutics or hermeticism, that they're all interconnected outside of the Most High God. The Most High God is why all things are interconnected, because he's the creator of all things, right? It teaches that all things are interconnected and that the divine is present in the material world. Now, what this is going into is that the divine is present in the material world is more going into saying that the Most High, the actual Most High, is embodied in all things. Like the Most High is in this phone case, and the Most High is in this book. That's madness. That's madness. Most High is not a damn in his office Max journal. You follow what I'm saying? Key principles include mentalism, correspondence, as above, so below. Now, in the Hebrew, we say Abanawash Bashimayim, Kodash Hayashimka, Yahweh Malakwat Kataba'a, Radazaka Haya, Shaba, Tazakwa Haya, Bashimayim, the Tawana, so as above, so below, in earth as in heaven is the point. They try to mix a lot of these false doctrines, and they try to say this is where the scriptures got this from, but that's false. Practices like alchemy, astrology, and thurology, and look, this thurology is really wicked. It goes into magic, the operation or effect of supernatural or divine agency in human affairs. So basically, thurology goes a lot into magic and mysticism from those perspectives. So y'all want to stay away from these things, right? Reading on, let me get back to this really quick. Is that ritual magic are used to achieve spiritual growth, purify the soul, and attain gnosis, a direct experiential knowledge of the divine. Now, the last time I checked, you don't need any type of ritual magic, according to the scriptures, to gain spiritual growth. So we're going to get a couple of precepts that show you that this doctrine of hermeticism, right? Spiritual, material, unity, alchemism, astrology, you don't want to be dealing with this if you're an Israelite. Let's get right into Isaiah 47:13. So it's the book of Isaiah, chapter 47. And I'm actually going to read up to, man, this whole thing is good. Start at verse 10. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it is perverted thee. It hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. And mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thine enchantments. Now, when you go into this enchantments, it goes into magic, right? Witchcraft, mystical solutions, right? Look, accompany spells, ritual magic. Isn't that what it said as far as in hermeticism, ritual magic, thurology, Salakia, right? So stand now with thy ritual magics, with thy multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit. If so be thou mayest prevail. And you know, this is going into, a lot of people get into these wicked practices and evil magics on the left-hand side, and they think that they'll be able to have prosperity, right? They think that these things are going to bring them riches, they're going to bring them good health, various types of power, right? But all of these things bring you destruction. So what the Most High is expressing through the mighty prophet Isaiah is saying to the children of Israel, here you have the Most High God, right? Allah Shadia in the Hebrew, all the almighty power on your side. but you want to stand in damn soothsaying. You want to stand in, I'm gonna get this, in horoscope, right? You want to be in horoscopes. And you know, people get up every damn day and let me get this definition. And they actually read their horoscope. I used to be one of them. I used to get up in the morning. I used to be like, you know, I'm a Libra. Let me see where Virgo is in the sky, and all of this madness is this witchcraft, right? So horoscope, a forecast of a person's future, typically including a delineation of character and circumstances. Look, based on the relative position of the stars and planets at the time of a person's birth. Now, this is what's very crazy about this when you think about it on a deeper level, right? So here they are saying that your delineation or the line of your progress of your life, right, is going to be determined by where the stars were at the time of your birth, because of your body coming through the womb is in a form of matter, right? And the matter or the elements that make up the body are also contained in the cosmos. And so their philosophy and their wicked thoughts is that not that the Most High controls your destiny and things are predetermined by the Most High, but that they're predetermined by the stars, by the moons, by the different planetary bodies and the planetary forces that they interact on particular elements that make up your molecular composition. And those are going to determine what your destiny is. That's foolishness, man. That's wickedness. And so when we get back in terms of this Isaiah right here, that's what the Most High is going into through the word. It says, thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators, stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Saying, look, if you're putting your trust in the damn stars and the star systems, let those things save you. Hey, don't call up. Hey, when you got that disease and your flesh is wasting away, and call up on the stars. Let those save you. Hey, when you caught in all forms of evil and wickedness, hey, when you caught in all forms of of calamity, and call upon the stars. Let the stars save you. That's what that's going into, and we know that that's all. Let me get this Deuteronomy 18 and 10. Get Deuteronomy 18 and 10. So as an Israelite, you should not be focusing on Hermeticism or any of these dark, wicked practices, right? And you know, the so-called Black conscious community is guilty of perpetuating and spreading these false doctrines, these witchcrafts, these demonic practices, and they want you to get caught up in it. The thing that's godly in the scriptures, they tell you to shun it. It's a so-called white man's book. Don't roll with it. But then they tell you to go into practice witchcraft, demonology, hermeticism, all of these things that are supposed to be part of the Black conscious community. Well, these things are rooted in idolatry, right? They're rooted in child sacrifice. A lot of them are rooted in homosexuality, right? And dykism, and all of these different practices. You don't want to be caught up in that, right? The book of Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 10 through 12. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that uses divination. The divination goes into being able to, what is the word I'm looking for? Foresee various future events, not through prophecy on the right-hand side, not by the prophecy that the Most High God is written out to the men of the Lord, but on the left-hand side by things like entrails. I want to get this real quick. You know, they used to actually, and they still do this, let me see, prophecy, divination through entrails, right? So right here, look, prophecy and divination through entrails, known as horospicy or ecstasy was an ancient practice of examining the organs of sacrificed animals, particularly the liver, to predict the future or discern the will of the gods. Now think about this, y'all. And look, was commonly among the Babylonians, Etruscans, go back, my bad, the Babylonian, the Etruscans, and Romans. And anytime you see a practice that says Romans, you got to tie the Greeks in there, because we know the Greeks were the precursors to the Romans, and that when Rome conquered the Greek Empire, right, through the wars and things of that nature, the Greco-Roman wars, that most of those idolatrous gods and deities that the Greeks worship, the Romans also worship, right? Where her spices or entrails observers would interpret signs like the shape, marks, and blemishes on the liver to guide political and personal decisions. So this is all going into witchcraft, sorcery, and a whole bunch of wickedness. That in Deuteronomy 18, it says, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits. You got to think Saul, right? Saul went off by consulting a familiar spirit. Instead of going to the Most High, Saul, he went to seek a woman who had a familiar spirit. I'm going to get this in 1 Samuel 28:7. Let me read up a little bit of fact. It says, 1 Samuel 28:6. And when Saul inquired of Yahweh, Yahweh answered him not, neither by dream, nor by Urim, nor by the prophets. So when you get into this Urim and Thummim, these were a special, almost kind of like a crystal, like ball almost, on the right hand side that the priest would use to consult with Yahweh, right? Now don't get it twisted in terms of like we're not talking about magic on the left hand side, but actually prophetic tools that the Most High God gave the priesthood that they could utilize for certain inquiries, right? Because when you see in the scriptures when it says, and they inquired of the Lord, right? Sometimes that was through the Most High gave them signs through dreams and wonders. Sometimes they would go through the men of the Lord, which is the prophets and things of that nature, right? And so forth and so on. But notice when Saul, a Benjamite from Kish, right, King Saul, inquired of Yahweh, Yahweh answered him not, neither by dream, nor by Urim, nor by the prophets. So the Most High has stopped dealing with Saul. He wasn't answering Saul when Saul was inquiring of him. So look what Saul did. Then said Saul unto his servant, seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. And this is what we're seeing right now a lot in the world, is you have a lot of sisters, especially a lot of Eve, is getting into these dark inquiry, dealing with familiar spirits. I'm going to show y'all this real quick, right? 1 second. Hold on. I think it's called Tarot card reading. I don't even like typing this type of stuff on my computer, to be honest. To be all the way honest, right? What you see is a lot of Eves, and I'm not gonna play this video, right? Because it's look, welcome and why I probably should do a damn tarot deck. And she's going and talking about how she grew up in the church and this and that. And look, esoteric and occult knowledge in the Bible. Now, when you get into this, you might have certain people that try to tie this and say, well, yeah, you know, it's esoteric and occult knowledge in the Bible. It's esoteric knowledge in the Bible in the sense, if you want to use the definition of the word of being hidden in secret, because the Most High God says that the secrets that let me get Psalms 147, right? Now, this is the only way you can say, if you can use in that terminology, that there is esoteric knowledge in the Bible in the terms of the word being secret or hidden. On the right hand side, though, and we see that in scriptures like Psalms 147 and 19, he showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgment unto Israel, right? He hath not dealt so with any nation. And as for his judgment, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh. So the Most High God has hidden the secret wisdom and knowledge and understanding of the scriptures from the other nations. He hasn't given them the spirit of discernment to sup with them to understand these precepts. So in that case, one may say, yes, it's esoteric, but esoteric in a sense of occult and hidden knowledge on the left-hand side, going into the practices and the idolatrous worship of these false gods, these idols, these so-called deities, these planetary star systems, these heavenly bodies, the damn liver of an animal. This is still going off. And a lot of you Eves, a lot of you sisters are now getting into this, right? Now, even my younger sister, she's not in the truth. Most High willing, he puts the spirit on her and brings her in the truth. But I had to shake the hand at her. She was dibbling and dabbling in this, you know? And so what it goes back down to is, notice Saul said that he wanted to go inquire of her, of this woman with the familiar spirit. Now, when you go into that familiar spirit, that goes into dealing with how we say wicked spirits, you know, dealing with the dead, conjuring up spirits, right? Which the Most High God tells us not to do. You know, there's even, matter of fact, when I was in so-called high school, I went to a high school that was predominantly heathen, right? Straight up and down. And, you know, certain of the Edomites, they was actually dealing with the Luigi board. I don't think it's called Luigi. With the Ouija board. They was actually dealing with the Ouija boards. You know, trying to consult and conjure up familiar spirits. And they was doing this for fun. I didn't partake in none of that. First of all, I was scared as hell. Even before the truth, I'm like, I ain't dealing with I had no interest in conjuring up a wicked spirit, you know? And so you gotta watch out for these different things. But reading on. And his servant said to him, behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor. And a lot of these things are put in movies, right? I'm gonna show y'all something. I think it's in Lord of the Rings. Yeah, right here. Look. So when you go into Lord of the Rings, see, a lot of these chief Edomites and these other nations who are writing these so-called movies and things of that nature, these scripts, they're getting things out of the scriptures and they're expanding on the left-hand side or adding some folkloric, if that's a word, type of narratives and storytelling and things to it. So you see Saul inquired of a woman who had a familiar spirit at Endor, right? And in this movie, The Lord of the Rings, I don't know if brothers ever seen this movie right here called The Lord of the Rings, right? So they had, let me see if I can get a better picture, matter of fact. Well, it's all right. I think this might be here we go. See, pictures from the so-called movie Lord of the Rings, right? But the point is, Endor, which is in the scriptures, he used it. Endor is a Quenya word for the continent that is more widely known as Middle Earth, the land where the main events of the Lord of the Rings take place. So even in a lot of these so-called films, they're taking things that are biblical and they're applying them to their script, right? So Saul went to go behold, there's a woman that had the familiar spirit at Endor. And Saul disguised himself and put on other raiment. And he went, and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night. So he knows that he's not supposed to be consulting this woman with the familiar spirit, which is why you think he's disguising himself. This is the king. He's literally disguising himself, putting on clothes, raiment that's not kingly, and he's going by night, thinking he's clothed in the night to go inquire of this woman because Yahweh wasn't answering. And they came to the woman by night, and he said, I pray thee, divine. So this divine goes into divination, right? Going into wicked practices of witchcraft and soothsaying, you know, whether she's mixing a damn potion, right? Whether she's going into a trance. And a lot of these times, these people go into trances based off, you know, utilizing certain drugs. even in the ancient times. You know, certain herbs and things that they would use in the ancient days that will put them in a state of trance, right? And they would start to foam at the mouth and all type of crazy stuff, and then call upon these familiar spirits and bring me him up, whom I shall name unto thee. And the woman said unto him, behold, thou knowest what Saul hath done, how he hath cut off those that have familiar spirits, and the wizards out of the land. Wherefore then layest thou a snare for my life to cause me to die? And this is hypocrisy. Here you go, Saul, at one time upholding the law, statutes, and commandments, being a mighty Benjamite king, right? The first technical king of the United Kingdom of Israel, because you know Moses was a king, considered a king, right? But let's say the first technical king of Israel. Here he is cutting off the women and the people with witchcraft and familiar spirits, but now in hypocrisy, because the Most High took the spirit from him. Here's Saul moving on the left-hand side, disguised in a damn cloak, probably creeping out at night with his two homeboys, going to get familiar spirits, right? And wizards. Reading on. And Saul swear to her by Yahweh, saying, as Yahweh liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for these things. Now, keep this. How are you swearing by Yahweh that this familiar spirit, this witchcraft sister, who's in witchcraft and idolatry, right? You're the king. You're supposed to uphold the law, statutes, and commandments, but you're swearing in the name of Yahweh, who gave you the law to say, don't do these idolatrous things, to tell her that no trouble will come by her, right? Let's read on. Then said the woman, whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, bring me up Samuel. So here he is conjuring up on the left-hand side through the spirit of witchcraft, the mighty prophet Samuel, because Yahweh was not hearkening and beckoning on to him. Now we know what we just read in the law in Deuteronomy 18 and 20. Don't forget what we just read in Deuteronomy 18, and 10, right? There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh the son or daughter to pass through the fire, or use of divination. But Saul just told her to divine, or observe the times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. Right? Necromancy goes into calling and conjuring up the dead. Sometimes it goes into even people damn sleeping with the dead, right? For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord Yahweh. And because of these abominations, Yahweh thy God doth drive them out from before thee, right? And I'm gonna get this one more. Let me get Wisdom of Solomon 13 real quick. Bam. So you got Wisdom of Solomon 13 and 1 through 3. Surely vain are all men by nature, who are ignorant of the Most High, and could not out of the good things that are seen know him that is, neither by considering their work did they acknowledge the workmaster, but deem either fire or wind or the swift air or the circle of the stars or the violent waters or the lights of heaven to be gods which govern the world. And that goes in to really sum up Hermeticism, right? So let's move on. Let's get into the Kabbalah. Right? So when you go into the Kabbalah, a lot of people, especially the so-called Jews, they get into this Kabbalah and they try to tie it to the Torah and say, well, it's the tree of life that the Torah represents, and there's a lot of magic and mysticism. But when you really go into the history of the Kabbalah, it actually goes back to ancient Babylon. So a lot of, when you go into the history of the Kabbalah, and when you go into the history of Spain during the Inquisitions and things of that nature, right? A lot of the Spanish in Spain, they took these practices that were done in ancient Babylon, right? And they try to add it to that Deuteronomy 4 and 2. Let me get this real quick. This Deuteronomy 4 and 2. So Deuteronomy 4:2, ye shall not add unto my word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that it may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. Now mind you, nowhere in the Torah did the Most High God tell us that we need spiritual mysticism from the tree of life, right? And to conjure up certain elements and put them together in certain configurations to be able to get enlightenment to understand the scripture. The Most High told us that our understanding will purely come through the spirit of prophecy, right? Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. So when you go into a lot of these things, you see that the so-called small hats have utilized or misutilized the Torah, because we know they really don't believe in Yahweh anyway, right? But they add on to the word and they say that, hey, Kabbalah or Jewish mysticism is something that's biblical, but it's not. So let's get back into this. Kabbalah is the Jewish mystical tradition. Look, tradition, not a tradition. And you got to realize this is not Israelite tradition. This is Jewish tradition. An ancient stream of Jewish thought that seeks to reveal the hidden meaning of the Torah. Now, you don't need mystical anything to reveal the hidden meaning of the Torah. And that's how you know that these not the real deal. That they not the real deal, y'all. The Most High God, he said he showeth his word unto Jacob, right? His statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not done so with any other nation. As far as his judgments, the Torah, the laws, the statutes, the commandments, they have not known. Praise ye Yahweh. Because they think that you got to go into all of this damn dark magic and things of that nature just to understand what's really going on in the law, statutes, and commandments, what's going on in the Torah. All praise to the Most High. And like the sister said, she said she was deep in that lifestyle before this truth. The very day I heard the truth, it threw it all away. I threw it all away and begged the Most High for forgiveness. And you got to do that. You got to cry out to the Most High and beg and ask him for forgiveness for these, vain philosophies and things of that nature that we all have dove into, right? So once again, let me get back to this. So when you go into this Kabbalah, right, let's go into Colossians 2:8, because even in the book of Colossians, it tells you to beware of these vain philosophies, right? The book of Colossians, chapter 2 and verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy in vain deceit, after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Yahweh Shai. So you want to beware of all of these false pseudosciences and things that are telling you that you need to do this in order to understand the Most High God and his word. We get Jeremiah 23 and 27. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 23 and verse 27, which think to cause my people to forget my name by their dreams, which they tell every man to his neighbor, as their fathers have forgotten my name for Baal. So you don't want to go into serving Baal and these false gods and idols by way of trying to be a damn Kabbalist and Jewish mysticism, right? And we see that these things stem back to ancient Babylonian customs, right? And I want to show y'all this really quick. Kabbalah, ancient Babylonian customs. Well, look, they said that the Kabbalah does not directly stem from ancient Babylonian custom, but that's a lie. But rather developed from Hebrew speculation and medieval Babylonian. Man, you gotta unpackage what they're saying. Here in ancient Babylon, you had the Israelites who were in captivity and picked up ways in ancient Babylon, right? By being around the Babylonians. They had ritual magic. They had, all different type of gods and deities that they worship. So you got to take the meat off the bone, Salakia. Like, let me get a drink right quick. Salakia. So when it goes into it, you have the Israelites in Babylon who picked up these customs. And then after a time when the fake Jews took over our culture and our heritage, right, as they claim, right, they supposedly took over our heritage and things of that nature. They began to revive these ancient Babylonian practices, right, and integrate them into what they call Judaism, all right, which we don't practice Judaism in any way, shape, or form. All right, we practice our culture and our heritage of being Israelites. This is straight up and down from that standpoint, right? So let's get back to this real quick. So when we go into this, they have forgotten my name for Baal. That's when you go into practicing this Jewish Kabbalism, this mysticism, and all of these things. You're forgetting the Most High's name. You're not calling on Yahweh, but instead, you're calling on Baal. You're calling on these wicked spiritual forces, these demons, and you're conjuring up spirits on the left-hand side, right? Let's get the book of Isaiah 29 and 13. The book of Isaiah, chapter 29 and verse 13. Wherefore the Lord saith, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, you know, everybody, Lord, 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 I love the Lord, Jesus, my king, but they on the side damn doing witchcraft, reading tarot cards, right? And they don't read the Psalms, but they read their horoscope. You know, they talking about Mercury going into retrograde. I can't do a damn business deal. And now I can't communicate. Well, my communication, my relationship going to be off because Mercury going into retrograde, and that controls the communication between me and my spouse. All of these things are practices in witchcraft and idolatry. And that's what they get into when they get into this Kabbalah, and they call it the sacred tree of life. These are ritualistic magic that you don't want to be involved in, right? But their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me. They remove their mind from the intelligence and the wisdom of the Most High. They move their mind. The Most High have actually turned them over into a reprobate mind, right? Where they believe the lie. And their fear towards me is taught by the precept of men. They're saying that, look, if you really want to be close to God, you got to fear the elements. And you gotta look, and you got to fear what can come of the elements. And it's almost like, you know, in ancient times, and when I say ancient times, even like with my great grandmother and things, they was into some witchcraft. You know, even stuff like you got to spit on the broom. If you sweep in the house and somebody sweep your foot, you got to spit on the broom. What is the purpose of that? Or, you know, superstitions. Hey, I don't walk under that ladder. You're going to have 7 years of bad luck. Hey, don't break a mirror. All of these things are rooted in the occult, the superstition, and wickedness, because you're saying that these anomalies or these everyday occurrences that happen, you know, brother walk under a ladder and now he damn looking around, scared to think something will happen. The wall gonna fall in, the ceiling's gonna cave in, and he really is giving his mind over to the fear of men and the fear of these. And the reason why this goes into the fear and the precepts of men, because your mind is deviating from trusting in the Most High God and His sovereignty and His power, ultimate power, and you're putting power into things that are created, right? Let's get Sirach 3 and 21, and then we're gonna move on to the next. The book of Sirach, verse 3, chapter 3 and verse 21, and it reads, seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search the things that are above thy strength. But what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence. Now let's focus on this. What is commanded of you as an Israelite? You got a whole litany, a plethora, a long list of laws, statutes, and commandments that you need to be focusing on. You don't need to be focusing on damn trying to read the stars. You don't want to be focusing on the things that are in the heavenly body in the atmosphere. Here you are trying to trace damn chemtrail lines, trying to get a prophecy out of them. You don't need to be focused on those things. The Most High didn't command you to do those. You want to be focused on what is commanded you and how to be a better child of God, how to serve Yahweh, and how to be that righteous man, that righteous woman, how to be that diligent child, right? These are the things you want to be focusing on, and you want to give your spirit over to the focus of these things, and you don't want to get your spirit taken away from you, right? And cast out. Didn't David say, Lord, take not thy Holy Spirit from me? And in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, it teaches us that the Holy Spirit will flee from a body that's soiled, paraphrasing. It will flee if there's no discipline there, right? So you don't want to be caught up in these things. For it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes the things that are in secret. Everything doesn't need to be searched out, right? You know, the Most High will reveal in His Word the things that are profitable unto you. It doesn't mean don't go into some history, and we study these things to debunk them. That's the difference. Studying them to debunk them is different from studying them to try to learn about them, to embrace them, and things of that nature. So you want to stay from that, right? Let's go to the book of. I want to get this. We can move on because let's get Sufism. Now, Sufism goes to Islamic mysticism. All right. So I want to get this. So Sufism. Let me get this. Sufism. Sufism is the mystical, spiritual dimension of Islam. So they call them Sufis, right? So you got, look at them. Look at this right here, y'all. Look at this. Mystic Sufi. And damn stabbing himself through his mouth. Look, got a damn rod behind Slaki, behind his eyeball. Trying to see the future. Man, that's off. So you don't want to be damn looking like this guy, a mystic Sufi. And look, they in dresses. They in dresses. Look, these men is in dresses. That's a dress. They up here damn ballroom dancing, trying to get connected with the etheric plane, circling around. And look, this is in Turkey, Istanbul. You don't want to be like these guys, man. With a damn Fez hat on, right? With a damn Fez hat on. Look at this, it's off. This is not our culture, Israel. This is not our culture, man. So you want to stay out of these different practices, right? These idolatrous heritages of the other nations. And Sufism is directly, if you're into any form of Sufism, you're worshiping Allah. And the Most High God said, Exodus 20, I believe, verse 3, 2 and 3, thou shalt not have any other gods before me. So you don't want to be into, and look, it says it plain upon table, the mystical spiritual dimension of Islam, focusing on achieving direct personal knowledge of Allah through devotion, asceticism, and spiritual practices like prayer, meditation, and chanting. It emphasizes attaining a state of ihsan, or perfection and excellence, through a path of spiritual stations and qualities, ultimately leading to a mystical union with the divine. So you got to think, you don't want to be damn in these practices of esoteric Islam, right? Decree, ritual, mystic closeness to Allah. And we're not trying to get close to the damn false God Allah, right? Let's get Exodus 20 and 3. Let's get Exodus 20 and 3. Or you would definitely be breaking, anybody who's conducting into any of these things, you're definitely, without a reasonable doubt, breaking this commandment. Plain upon table. If you in Kabbalism, if you in Hermeticism, If you in Sufism, you're definitely breaking this commandment. And anybody who tells you you're not, they're breaking this commandment as well, because they're causing you to worship other gods, and they're suffering their brothers to sin, and they're lying to you. Exodus 23, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Now that's plain upon table, right? That's plain upon tables. Let's get Psalms 96 and 5. It's the books of Psalms 96 and 5. For all the gods of the nations are idols, but Yahweh hath made the heavens. So if you're doing mystical chants to call upon the false god of Allah, who's an idol, you damn destroyed in your mind. And you got to repent, sister. And you got to repent, brother. You got to do that, man. Right? Let's get Galatians 1 and 8. Book of Galatians chapter 1 and verse 8. But though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. So if you're a promoter of Sufism, if you're trying to get brothers and sisters to indulge in worshiping other gods and, you know, these practices, and even down to yoga, you know, when you go into yoga, let me get this real quick. When you go into yoga, you are actually worshiping another god, right? Yoga. Right? Let me go to sutras. Yoga, the sutras, right? Let's get this book. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is a compilation from a variety of sources of Sanskrit, sutras, aphorisms on the practice of yoga, right? 196 sutras. Let me get you into this. Bam, here we go. Patanjali, its traditional snake form indicating Kundalini, or an incarnation of Shisha. Look at this. Shisha, the king of serpents. So when you get into even that yoga, it's going into a practice of trying of the Kundalini energy. They call it the serpent-headed energy. That's supposed to start at the base of at the Ida and the Pingala. Let's get that real quick. Get into it. Ida and Pingala. Look. The Ida and Pingala are two fundamental nadis, or subtle energy channels in the body, described in yogic tradition, with Ida being the left, lunar and feminine channel, and Pingala being the right, solar and masculine channel. So they saying that every body has a feminine and a masculine aspect. The Bible don't teach that, right? And that inside of you, you have on the left-hand side, the lunar aspects, and the right-hand side, the solar aspect. And these are subtle energies that you can, through your power of your breath, channel through the Ida and the Pingala at the base of your spine, your sacral glands, and move through the nervous system to, like a serpent, to hit your third eye or your pineal gland, to connect to the damn cosmos, to get a download into what is it called? Conjure up, right? Shisha, which is their incarnation of the, look, this is the idol of Shisha, the serpent-headed damn idol statue. This is what you're conjuring up when you're doing yoga. You're getting in these different positions to try to align your body, right? To unlock various channels and various so-called subtle energies, to awaken. And when I say awaken, to conjure up these different spirits to so your vessel can be incarnated by Shisha. That's what you're doing when you're doing yoga. Also known by his epithets, Shishanaga, the snake Shisha, and Adi Shisha, the first Shisha, is a serpentine demigod, Naga, and king of the serpents, Nagaraya, as well as a primordial being of the creation and Hinduism. So when you're getting into yoga, you're practicing Hinduism. There's no way around it. You're in the sutras. You're in Shiva, Brahma, Ganesh, right? The gods of the Elamites. So all of these things are very important to understand and to realize what you're really going into when you damn bitch talking about even that whole situation, you're trying to make a vibration talking about to bring you to a place of nirvana, to attract various energies in the universe and the cosmos, to bring it into your vessel to awaken Shisha. So you want to stay the hell away from this, right? You want to stay the hell away from it, right? Galatians 1:8. But though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. And hey, look, I used to do yoga. I used to be a damn yoga teacher. I didn't know what was going on. Now, obviously, this is before the truth. No, matter of fact, when I came into the truth, I was still doing yoga. Brothers had to pull brothers had to get on me. Hey, brother, yoga worshiping another God? My head? No, it ain't. I'm just stretching. But we acknowledge wisdom and understanding of the scriptures, and all praise to the Most High. He put a spirit on me to listen and to hearken. And when brothers went into it and broke it down, I saw the error of it by Shem Yahushua. And me and my household, I got the hell out of that. You know, I told my rib, hey, we can't do no damn yoga no more, right? So all of these things are rooted in idolatry, family. All of them are. And it's so crazy because in the world, look at this right quick. I think how many people in the world practice yoga? You got to think yoga is, look, over 300 million people worldwide practice yoga, with the highest number in India, China, and the United States. You got to think yoga is now, matter of fact, I was just watching, I like boxing, and I was just watching Canelo and Terrence Crawford. They got a little Netflix series leading up to their big fight. This coming up, right? It's coming up Shabbat or whatnot, right? And in that whole situation, they literally had Terrence Crawford go and practice yoga. Now, this brother doesn't know that he's worshiping another God. And he's supposed to even be a so-called Christian, right? You're worshiping another God when you go into yoga. But the point of the matter is, it's so ingrained is the word I'm thinking of. It's so ingrained in sports, in culture, in what is it called? Psychology, mental health. You know, one of the biggest, mental health practice yoga. Let me see, billing code. You can actually bill for yoga. Look at this. For yoga services in the mental health context, you would typically use therapeutic procedure codes like CPT code 97110 or 97530. So these are actual billing codes to Medicare and Medicaid that if you own a mental health facility or practice, you can have people go practice yoga and you can bill for it. It shows you how much idolatry is ingrained in this culture and the customs of Babylon. The city the country where the money that says in God we trust. But you could bill for yoga. Sports. Most of your top athletes, right? See, watch this. Top athletes who practice yoga. Look at this. Top athletes who have incorporated yoga into their routines include basketball stars like LeBron James, Kevin Love, Shaquille O'Neal, football players Ray Lewis, Now, Tom Brady, a heathen, and some of these other ones, but the point of the matter is that these athletes, Blake Griffin, Dwayne Wade, now that brother's off. And that brother Dwayne Wade, that brother need to repent. And letting his son turn into a damn punk, trying to be a tranny. That brother is off. Him and Gabrielle Union, y'all need to repent, right? And I'm not just saying that all these other brothers don't need to repent for the things they do. I'm definitely getting on that brother, right? And shaking the hand. But the point of the matter is, you see that yoga has been incorporated into the everyday sports community. Look at this. He doesn't know that he's in this pose, stretching, trying to connect to the cosmic, to have the energy in his body incarnate a shisha. He doesn't know that. I'm strongly led to believe, right? Let's move on, y'all. So that's Sufism. You don't want to be into that Sufism, right? That Islamic. So we did touch on yoga, but before we was in that Sufism, which is mystic Islam practices to connect to Allah through ritual magic. This is just like the damn Kabbalah, right? And you got to think about this. This is a false religion, y'all. This is a false religion, right? And I want to get something too, because what we do, and this is in this James 1:27, because we often say that, you know, we're not in a religion, right? So I want to clear that up, because being an Israelite is not a religion in the contextual sense of modern day man-made religions. But we do have, this is a religion given by God, not a man-made religion. And I'm going to tell you why. Because even when you go into a religion, it goes into a discipline, right? But this isn't a man-made discipline. This is a discipline that was given to us by a creator by way of heritage. So James 1:27 says, pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. Because godly given heritage is going to cause you to shun the things of the world. So this is our religion from a godly aspect, because the Most High God delivered this to us. I'm going to get this real quick as well. I believe I want Sirach 23 and 24. No, Sirach 24 and 23. Right? Bam. Sirach 24 and 23. All these things are the book of the covenant of the Most High God, even the law which Moses commanded for inheritance unto the congregation of Jacob. And we know that when Moses gave us the heritage, right, we know that that heritage was given to Moses by the Most High God. So even when we go to Nehemiah 10 and 29, they clave to their brethren, their nobles, and entered into a curse and into an oath to walk in God's law, which was given by Moses, the servant of God. So notice, we're walking in God's law, which was given by Moses, okay? So don't get that twisted when it says that all these are the book of the covenant of the Most High God, even the law which Moses commanded for inheritance into the congregation of Jacob. And a heritage encompasses a lot of things, right? It can go into, let's get this real quick. It can go into your language, your customs, your holy days, your economic laws. You know, there's a diverse amount of things that can go into a heritage, right? Heritage refers to the tradition, culture, or personal history. That's very important. Personal history of the Israelites that a person or a group of people inherit from the past, encompassing everything from ethnic roots and cultural teachings to physical objects, landscapes, and intangible elements like language and knowledge. So when the Most High God says that this is our heritage, it encompasses all of those things, right? And going into like Sufism and all of those things, that's definitely not a part of our heritage, right? Let's get man, I got a couple more I want to go through, but I'm gonna end with this one. Let's get Gnosticism. Right, I want to go into Theosophy, Rosicrucianism, Freemasonry, anthropophacy. I want to go to Thelmaism. What else I got in my notes? Oh, Eastern esoteric schools. There's a lot. Definitely gonna have to probably do like a 3-part. So I knocked out today we Hermeticism, Kabbalah, Sufism, and we're gonna end with this Gnosticism. Right? Let me get this real quick. And you hear this word, people saying the Gnostics. So Gnosticism was a diverse ancient philosophical and religious movement, prominent before and during early Christianity, that emphasized salvation through secret knowledge, right, by a spiritual elite rather than faith or deeds. Central Gnostic beliefs include a dualistic worldview where the material world, created by a lesser god, the demiurge, is evil, and the spiritual realm is good. That's off. There are no demigods. There are no lesser gods that created the world, right? Now, in the sense of if you're talking about Christ is a god and he is a lesser god than the Most High, yes, but that's not what this is talking about. We do know when we go in Colossians 1:15 on down, right, that the word teaches us that Christ created the world and created everything under the commandment of the Most High God, his Father Yahweh. So God being Elohim, right, or powers. Christ is a God, but he's not the Most High God. But this isn't the context of what this is referring to, right? This just says a lesser God, the demiurge, is evil, and the spiritual realm is good. Humans contain a divine spark, and achieving salvation involves understanding one's true spiritual nature to escape the flawed material world. So, Gnosticism is not our culture, right? Let's get Genesis 1:31. Let's get Genesis 1:31. Genesis 1:31. And God saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good. In the evening and the morning were the 6th day. So the point is, God saw everything that he had made. It wasn't made by a lesser God. There is no lesser God in the context of what Gnosticism is talking about, that created everything in contrast to the Most High God and created everything in the material world to be evil. That's not biblical, y'all. So you definitely want to stay out of those practices in those schools of thought, right? I'm going to get a couple more precepts. Let's get 1 Timothy 6. The book of 1 Timothy, chapter 6 and verse 20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babbling, and oppositions of science, falsely so called, right? Which some professing have erred concerning the faith. Now, get this. When you go into this Gnosticism, it literally says that salvation comes through secret knowledge. Not through works, not through faith, but through knowledge. Secret knowledge is that. Where's the secret knowledge coming from? Where's the faith in Yahweh Shah? Where's the works? Right? They say you don't need none of that. You just need to know secret knowledge. That's not biblical, y'all. And if you go into these things like the scriptures, tell you, keep that which is committed to thy trust. What's committed to the trust of the Israelites? The Torah, the prophets, the laws, the statutes, the commandments, the Psalms, right? These are the things, our heritage is what the Most High committed to our trust, the gospel, and avoiding profane and vain babbling. You don't want to have an itching ear towards these false doctrines. Next thing you know, you said, well, look, I don't need the Bible. I don't need the scriptures. I don't need works. I don't need Yahweh Shai. All I need is the damn secret esoteric knowledge. It's about the knowledge, brother. It's about the knowledge. All of that is off, right? So you want to stay out. You don't want to get caught up in that. The first to Timothy was written from Laodicea, which is the chiefest city of Phrygia, and Pakatiana. That sounds like a hood chick name. Pakatiana, right? Let's get 2 Timothy 3 and 7, and I end with it. Also, I will. 2 Timothy 3 and 7. I must ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. And I want to get this real quick. I want to get this. Ever learning, and you got to think about this. There's no end to books. There's billions of books written, PDFs, oral traditions. You can learn and learn and learn and learn and learn all of this foolishness and never come to the sense and to the full understanding of the knowledge of the truth. And we don't want our hope and our prayer is for Israel to be saved, all Israel to be saved, all 12 tribes scattered abroad. And in order to do that, y'all, we got to have faith in the formula like O.F.I. We got to shun. When you think about to shun something, let me get this word real quick. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get it in Strong. That's here. Avoid, and let me get shun. It's lucky. When you shun something, persistently avoid, ignore, or reject through antipathy or caution. So you want to shun profane babblings. You want to shun false science, so-called. You want to shun all of these false doctrines, right? And I was going to get this, I'll end with this. Most High will is that Ecclesiastes. I want the class of 12 and 13 through 14. Actually, I want to start at 12. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and verse 12. And further, by these, my son, be admonished, of making many books there is no end. And much study is a weariness of the truth. So you don't want to get caught up in studying all these false doctrines, and you being tossed to and fro, and think how this next book is going to bring you closer to God. The Most High gave us all that we need, y'all. He gave us the scriptures. He gave us our history, our heritage, our culture. Right? You don't want to get caught up in these false doctrines going on. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. And this is advice from Solomon, the wisest man that ever walked the earth besides Yahweh Shai. I'll say the second wisest man that ever walked the earth. We know that Yahweh Shai is the cream of the crop. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yahweh and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. For Yahweh, or God the Most High, shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So with that, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so by Shema Mashiach, Woman Yahweh Shai, and on Mondays, right? Most High willing, we're going to do a Wicked Wednesday this week as well. Wicked Wednesday, probably going to touch on a little bit of current events. I might actually, on Wicked Wednesday, I might pick up where I left off, Most High willing to hear, because I really want to touch on this theosophy, this Rosicrucianism. You know, a lot of people into that Mason and all of those things. So I'm probably going to, Most High willing, pick up where we left off here on Wicked Wednesdays, on this Wednesday. So all praise to the Most High. How about Shema Mashiach, Woman like Yahweh Shai. Shalom, shalom, family. All praises to Wada for tuning in. Lord willing, it was edifying. Stay the hell away from these false doctrines. They shun these. They break down their idols and their groves and turn up in the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai. Abaratasa, Brother Nakamaya, signing off. Brothers of O.F.I. Kwame Yashala.